Okay, what we're going to do today is we're going to fiberglass some craft body tube. This is 2.6 inch diameter. It's kind of old, but it's going to get the point across. And the first thing we want to do is remove the shiny white glassine layer so that our epoxy can soak down into the cardboard tube. I have a small piece here, and what you do is take something sharp and you're going to start at one of the edges where the spiral meets, and you're going to peel it like an onion. I'm going to bring it over to the camera and see if we can do this on the camera. So we started it right up here where the seam met the edge. We got it started, we pulled it back, and we're just going to peel this like an onion. And you can see how it's following the seams. So now our epoxy can get down in here and soak right into that tube and give us a nice strong finish. So I did a tube earlier off camera. It was being a little bit difficult on one end, so I switched it around and started on the other end. I'm also going to show you that you don't need fancy things to do any layup. So we have a cardboard box here. Cut it out so you can see what's going on. Put some V's in it. That's going to hold my tube that holds the tube. I have a cardboard tube that's going to rest into the notches, and then this will slide over the top of this. So that I can do this without holding on to the actual piece that I'm going to be fiberglassing. If I take a piece of duct tape and I fold it upon itself lengthwise and then roll it, it's kind of give me some two-sided tape. So if I put this in here between the tape marks, the tape is just to keep me from gluing my piece to my other cardboard tube. I can slide this back on here, I can position it where I want it, push it down, and now I can work on this without actually having to touch this piece here. That I figured out I'm going to put 2 layers on here. How wide I'm going to do it, how long for 2 layers. I made it a little bit extra long so that I can come back and cut it. One other thing that I need to do to this is mark a line on here, whether I go over to the door or an angle iron or whatever. I can use this thing right here and I put it on here. And all I'm doing is drawing a starting and a stopping line on here. So now we know where to start the glass and we know where to stop it. I've already weighed my fiberglass to figure out how much epoxy I need. I have my chip brush, the glass is all cut, and I'm going to show you how well the peel ply works. In that half this tube I'm going to put peel ply on, and the other half I'm not. So I have my epoxy all made up. I'm going to coat the entire tube first, pretty genuinely, whatever that word is. There was also some questions in one of the forums about starting or stopping the glass in the tube and how to keep it down. And so on one end of this tube I'm going to run it off the tube, the fiberglass, and the other end we're going to stop it on the tube, and that's the side we're going to put the peel ply on, so I can show you how well the peel ply actually holds things down. This might take a little bit more epoxy because it's soaking into the tube. So now I can take my piece that I have, and on this particular piece I have an edge that I can actually stick up here and start on my line. So I'm going to run one side off the tube, I'm going to push it up to my line, and the other side of the glass is going to end. So make sure that this is all nice and straight up here. It's pretty easy to do with a factory edge. And I can move this around, or I can pull it down, or whatever I want. So I'm just going to tap this all down in place, making sure it's all wetted out. The biggest thing about this is to try it. Get the supplies, even if you have some, Bob Smith little containers of the laminating epoxy, and, go buy a little piece of fiberglass and try a small piece of tube. The more that you do, the better you get. My first tubes were pretty bad, and then the more I've done them, the easier it's gotten for me. And on the other videos where I was talking about laminating and stuff, or setting up or laying up body tubes from scratch, that's comes with practice. Occasionally I would say don't put a piece of tape in the middle of the Mylar. Believe me, I have a lot of fiberglass tubing stuck to mandrels, stuck to motor tubes that I've had to cut off. And so it's just from experience that you know how to do this. And all I'm trying to do is pass on what I've learned and how I do it. Somebody was saying in one of the chat rooms that I make it really easy, or look easy to do. And it is, once you do it a little bit. The hardest part is learning, or thinking about things to say when you're doing it. So now we can see where my line is, that I have one layer on there, and I'm going to pull this around. And I didn't start by making tubes up from scratch. We started minimum diameter rockets and other rockets by doing this method right here. Peeling off the outer layer so that the epoxy can soak into the cardboard to make it yet even stronger. We're starting to get off a little bit, so I'm going to back up. I'm going to pull this over. I'm just going to pull it over back to where I want it to be. The big thing is that if you mess with the ends or the bottom too much, it starts getting unfrayed, and you got pieces all over the place, and it starts to get unmanageable. And so the trick is make nice straight cuts. Don't mess with the ends. Let them fall off, let them pull out. Don't worry about those. And so we would put a couple layers of glass, peeling down the cardboard tubes. Then we got to a point, well, how much can we peel down these cardboard tubes to use it as a mandrel? And my stuff has just evolved from there. So we're going to work this all the way around, wetting it out, tapping it, pulling it tight, pulling it tight. Got some hairs happening there. We're getting back around to where our second level is, our second layer. So once I get this wetted past that line, what I'm going to do is come back with a pair of scissors and cut that. Now I have a nice line to follow. It's much easier to cut when it's wet if you have good scissors. These scissors have been acting up on me. I don't know why. So now we have that cut pretty straight. I'm just going to tap that edge down. If I mess with it too much, I'm going to start pulling all the fibers out of it. And so all I want to do is get it pulled around, get it laying back down, making sure everything's wetted out again. So we're going to put peel ply on this part of the tube. If we take a close look at this, it's pretty hairy, it's pretty nasty looking. It's going to take a long time to sand that. So what we're going to do is put peel ply on this half, leave that half alone. So we have our peel ply all cut. I'm going to come back off my line a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol in here just to thin this down a little bit. And all that's kind of doing is giving me a nice slippery epoxy to work with. So once you get it on here about halfway is when you can start kind of working it. If you start pulling on it too soon, then you're just sliding it around on the body. I don't think I have enough to do two complete layers, but I have enough to show what I want to point out when this sets up. We can still see our line through here, so I can actually see where I'm coming back around for my second layer. Again, just pulling it through, pulling it through. Okay, so then we'll let this set up, we'll come back and pull it apart. Okay, it's been a few hours. The epoxy is a little bit green, but it'll still be able to show you what we're doing. I'm going to get it off the rack here, and we're going to take the peel ply off. And then I'll bring this up to the camera and point out a few things that hopefully you can see how smooth the peel ply is and how little sanding it's going to take as compared to this part. You can even see some drips that would have to be sanded out. The peel ply eliminates that need. If we look at the edge of the tube, we can see where the peel ply, where my thumb is, flattened everything out. If we look at the other end of the tube, we can see how we ran it long, and we'll cut that off because it's still green. You can see where I'm able to push it down and stuff. And then one of the biggest things, I don't know if you can see it, is that right here where the edge is huge, and that would take filler and a lot of sanding to get that down right along there. But if we go look at the other side, that there is no line there whatsoever, because what we do is we're pulling down that peel ply and flattening that out, and probably putting a little bit of epoxy in there too. And so that's the benefits of peel ply. It leaves the tube almost ready for primer and very little sanding to do. So now what we're going to do is we'll go back and we'll cut this off with a utility knife. While it's still rubbery like this, we could take a utility knife and run along the cardboard. Once this hardens up, you wouldn't be able to do this. So that's how you glass some cardboard too. Go over it. We start at one of the top seams. We peel it around like an onion. This is what we're looking for so that the epoxy can soak right into that. This is usually what you peel off. Draw a line on here so that it gives us our starting point for our glass. We also use that line to come back and to cut the glass off. Peel ply, it's well worth the price and effort of putting it on there. It really eliminates any need for much sanding at all as compared to this way, that we have to fill the weave, we have to take off any drips that are in here, and for sure we're going to have to do something with the seam. So that's about it.